Swine News.
Good evening, Philippines and the world. Today is Thursday, July 2, 2020.
Join us in the next hour as we deliver today's top stories around the globe. I'm Angelo Castro III.
We are also seen in 1,935 satellite monitoring centers nationwide and via live streaming worldwide through the UNTV News and Rescue social media accounts and our website, untv.com. I am William Theo. "15 U-turn slots on EDSA might get closed. Commuters and motorists react differently to the planned U-turn slot closure. Dante Amento tells us why.
To give way to the new bus lane on Metro Manila's busiest thoroughfare and to allow for faster, smoother and safe public utility bus trips, the MMDA plans to close 15 U-turn slots on EDSA.
We want to lessen the travel time. No, biruin mo kung ma-achieve natin yan by minimizing the U-turns or closing the U-turns on this busway, malaking impact yan, mas mabilis.
Those U-turn slots include De Jesus, General Tinio, Malvar and Biglang Awa in Caloocan City, Balintawak, Kaingin, Landers and 6 others in Quezon City, and EDSA TAF and Heritage Hotel U-turn slots in Pasay City. But commuters and motorists don't seem to accept the looming U-turn slot closure in the same way.
Kagaya dito sa Quezon General Hospital, pag mag-emergency, ang layo ng U-turn mo sa Quezon Hub.
Kung ipapasara yung mga dito, U-turn slot, saan kami mag-U-turn? Monumento pa.
Masyado ng traffic dito sa ating itong harapan ng Volta pag simula nung nakaroon ng U-turn slot yan.
But the MMDA is anticipating complaints about this plan.
Well, maraming magrereklamo na naman, baka may mag-file na naman ng TRO dyan, kasi nasanay na.
The MMDA underscored that their top priority remains the welfare of commuters. Dante Amento, UNTV, News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
MRT3 will operate at a reduced capacity starting on Monday, July 6, while there will be no train operation this coming Saturday and Sunday. Joanne Nano tells us why.
MRT3 will limit the number of running trains beginning Monday as more than 100 depot personnel tested positive for COVID-19. As of today, there are 127 confirmed COVID-19 cases among MRT depot personnel, most of them from Sumitomo Mitsubishi Heavy Industries, MRT3's maintenance provider. Despite limited manpower and reduced number of running trains, MRT3 assures they will retain its operating hours. From the current 16 to 19, the MRT management might reduce the number of operational trains to only 10 to 12 train sets starting on Monday.
Ngayon po, again, ang advice po ng Sumitomo sa atin ay base po dun sa bilang ng mga available nilang tao ay kaya pa naman po magpatuloy ng operasyon ng MRT3.
The MRT management has assured that all its station personnel remain COVID-19 free and without any close physical contact with depot personnel. To prevent further transmission of the virus, MRT officials will impose stricter health protocols.
Meron din po kaming ginawang strict sectional physical segregation sa depot. Ang ibig po sabihin lang nito ay nililimit po namin ang labas at galaw ng bawat empleyado sa loob ng depot. Kung saang area lang po sila dapat gumawa, doon lang po sila dapat nag-i-stay. Meron din po yung PPE as a requirement po natin.
Now, to assist affected MRT passengers, the Department of Transportation will boost the operations of bus augmentation. Meanwhile, according to the MRT3 management, train operations will be suspended on July 4 and to 5, that will be this coming weekend, to give way to rail replacement. Joanne Nano, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
The National Economic and Development Authority notes that expanding COVID-19 testing and adding transportation capacity would greatly help in economic recovery. One of our senior correspondents, Ray Palayo, will tell us why.
A resolution has been proposed to the Interagency Task Force to expand the COVID-19 testing to 10 million by next year, according to National Economic and Development Authority or NEDA Secretary Carl Chua. The official said this will not only cover health workers or other frontliners, but also workers in various industries.
We also include via pool testing a number of workers so that we can provide confidence to the business sector that they can actually resume work.
NEDA also sees the need to increase the capacity of transportation, which is now only at 50%. This is to support the opening of the economy, which is presently at 75%. Through the government's intervention, NEDA is hoping that the more than 17 million unemployed Filipinos will be reduced by the reopening of the country's economy. According to Secretary Chua, localizing quarantine is also proposed to restart more business. NEDA forecasts that health and food production will be more in demand but less for tourism. Ray Pelayo, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
Some drivers and operators of UV Express in Marikina City are appealing to the Land Transportation Franchising and Regulatory Board or LTFRB to allow them to resume operations. Earlier today, we visited some of the 13 UV Express terminals in the city. One terminal in Parang, Marikina is already equipped with health measures in compliance with the guidelines set by the board. According to the drivers and operators, they all contributed out of their own pockets just to make their terminals and UV Express units fully compliant. However, they were disappointed upon knowing that they were not included among the 980 UV Express units approved by the LTFRB to ply in 47 routes across Metro Manila and nearby provinces. The Marikina UV Express drivers and operators lament they did not even receive any assistance from the national government. I talked with some officers and drivers of those UV Express drivers and operators groups who expressed their sentiments.
Nakikiusap lang po kami sa ating pamahalaan, pabiyahin lang po kami. Wala kaming ibang nais na gusto sa kanila. Hindi po kami nakikipag-away. Paghanap buhay lang po kami. Yun lang ang importante sa amin.
Ang laki na ng utang na po namin. Wala naman kami magawa.
Yung mga ayuda binibigay ng Marikina, yun na lang yung namin, nagiging buhay namin.
Even Marikina Mayor Marcy Teodoro is appealing to the concerned agencies to approve the request. He says there is a great need to add modes of transportation in the city now that restrictions have been eased and more Marikina residents have been returning to work in various parts of Metro Manila.
800 mahigit ang ating UV Express driver dito sa Marikina. Ibig sabihin 800 pamilya rin ang umaasa. Pero higit pa ron ay libo-libong mananakay ang mabibigyan ng ginhawa at safely ay maitatransport natin.
The 800 drivers of UV Express in Marikina have undergone free rapid testing to ensure their health and safety of passengers before going back to roads. Teodoro says only one turned out to be reactive and has already tested negative in the RT-PCR test. For his part, LTFRB Chairman Attorney Martin Delgado III says they will look into the appeal of Marikina City along with the request of other cities.
Following the DOTR policy on the calibrated and gradual deployment of public transport. Having said that, hindi lang po galing sa Marikina ang natatanggap natin ng mga request. Meron po sa ibang lugar. Kaya tinitingnan din po natin yan based on the, again, as I've said earlier, yung continuous monitoring and assessment. Kung meron bang pangangailangan na maglagay tayo ng mga additional units.
The health department says that Cebu City's hospital capacity is now at a critical level. Our health correspondent Aiko Miguel reports why.
The current bed occupancy of Cebu City is at 83.4%. The health department reports today that Cebu City's health capacity is now at a critical level. This is why the DOH is looking for ways to help the hospitals in the highly urbanized city that remains under enhanced community quarantine, the strictest community quarantine level.
We reached about 80% and even more, no, 80% plus, no, last week. Pero napababa nila yun nung nag-meeting kami nung Sunday, parang bumaba ng konti, although nasa critical level pa rin. So ngayon, kapag ka nakakita tayo ng ganito, binabantayan. Kaya nga ang desisyon sa kanila, they continue on with PCQ.
The DOH further says there is a small number of tertiary level hospitals in Cebu City, while its level 1 hospitals have no intensive care units.
So talagang yung ating Vicente Soto, yung Chongwa Hospital, at yung iba pang malalaking ospital sa Cebu ay nandun na sa critical, no, na marami na naka-admit, tapos pati mechanical ventilators nila ay marami na rin gumagamit.
One of the biggest hospitals in Cebu City is the Chongwa Hospital, which now has a 98% occupancy rate. Aside from this, 238 of Chongwa Hospital personnel are now under quarantine because of their exposure to COVID-19 patients. The hospital is treating more than 200 confirmed COVID-19 patients at present. The health department has sent infectious disease consultants, volunteer doctors to the barrios, nurses, and even military doctors to Cebu province as augmentation in the city's public and private hospitals' manpower. Health Secretary Francisco Duque III today visited Chongwa Hospital and met with the hospital's officials to check their condition and see what help is necessary once they reach their maximum capacity. Aiko Miguel, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
Hospital ng Cabuyao in Laguna Province will be closed for 14 days to conduct decontamination of the hospital and to give way to hospital staff to undergo home quarantine. This comes after some of the hospital's healthcare providers got exposed to 2 COVID-19 patients. According to Dr. Gregorio Fabros, chief of the Hospital ng Cabuyao, they will revise infection control policies and guidelines and physical infection control measures. It aims to prevent further exposure of their personnel to patients infected with SARS-CoV-2. The hospital has also discharged its patients. Let's now take a closer look at the updated count of coronavirus cases around the world. The COVID-19 pandemic has now reached a total of more than 10.7 million confirmed cases in 188 countries, regions, and sovereignties. That's a more than 200,000 increase from yesterday's record. The fast-spreading disease has claimed over 516,000 lives, while more than 123,000 patients across the globe have recovered from yesterday, bringing the total recoveries to close to 5.5 million. Thanks be to God.
Meanwhile, the country's Department of Health says that 294 new cases were reported today, including 52 fresh ones and 242 late cases. That raises the total confirmed cases of coronavirus infection in the Philippines to 38,805. That is, as of 4 p.m. today, we have lost 4 more patients. But through our fervent prayers, medical interventions, and sacrifices of our medical frontliners, 235 more patients have won their battle against the invisible enemy. That brings the total recoveries nationwide to 10,673. Thanks be to God.
A local courier service company, J&T Express, says that it is taking full responsibility of the action of its personnel seen on a footage that has recently gone viral on social media, throwing parcels into a cargo truck. Asher Kadapan Jr. will join us tonight to tell us why live. Yes, Asher, good evening.
Yes, good evening, Will. The management of J&T Express has identified its personnel seen on a video shared on social media who are seen throwing customers' parcels into a truck. Although the workers involved are not regular employees, the courier company has sanctioned them for their inappropriate act. In fact, according to Leonardo Alampay, the brand manager of J&T Express, the people involved are on-call rider and sorters. They were temporarily hired by the company and have not spent a great deal of time within the company learning its policies and company cultures. J&T Express refused to disclose further details about the sanction and how many persons were involved. based on the company's policies, some will remain in their jobs with the condition that they underwent retraining to avoid such incidents from happening in the future. Here's what JNT Express Vice President Zoe Chi said about this.
We will train them again. We will give the exactly training for them and let them know before they starting the work. We will let them know how to do the work properly.
Asher, yes, Asher, what is the reaction of the JNT Express management to its employees' actions, and what are the updates on the government's investigation on this situation?
Well, Will, the courier service provider expresses dismay about the incident and explains it is an isolated case. Nevertheless, JNT Express says it will continue to work with the government on an investigation. The PNP Criminal Investigation and Detection Group, or CIDG, has started its probe as ordered by President Rodrigo Duterte. Despite the incident, JNT Express says it has yet to receive any formal complaints against their service. Will?
Yes, thank you, Asher, for that report. Stay safe. Meanwhile, the World Health Organization, during Wednesday's media briefing in Geneva, Switzerland, reminded that the context of the behavior of people is also a main driver of transmission of the new coronavirus, aside from scientific context. Details why from Nina Armilio.
We often end up in scientific arguments over asymptomatic, symptomatic transmission, but in effect, we're talking about context. We're talking about behavior.
This was the response of Dr. Mike Ryan, WHO's Health Emergencies Program Executive Director, when they were asked about the flare-up of COVID-19 cases in countries that have managed to lower their transmission rate, such as in countries where new clusters of COVID-19 cases were attributed to nightclubs, bars, and social gatherings.
Our behaviors will facilitate disease transmission or mitigate against it.
Dr. Ryan also underscored that every individual must look at their own risk and have awareness of COVID-19 information. His advice is that every person must be aware of the local transmission in their particular area to be able to make good decisions.
We need to gain the knowledge to be able to make good decisions. We decide on our proximity to other individuals. We decide on the intensity of our social engagement. We decide how long we spend in that environment. We can be advised by government, we can be advised by science, but in the end, this comes down to personal motivation and personal choice.
Dr. Ryan further said that we are in a situation right now wherein we have to learn to live with the virus.
Understanding how this virus is affecting your community, understanding how your behavior, your individual behavior, either increases the risk or decreases the risk of this virus transmitting is absolutely vital.
Nina Armilio, UNTV, News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
Presidential spokesperson Harry Roque apologizes to the public after pictures of him showing a visit to a Subic Marine Park in Bataan yesterday went public. He says he did not break any community quarantine protocols. Our Malacanang correspondent, Rosalie Cos, explains why.
Many have questioned the action of presidential spokesperson Harry Roque after his pictures showing his visit to Ocean Adventure in Subic Bay Freeport Zone, Bataan yesterday were released to public. The palace official admits it was a side trip and he grabbed the opportunity to visit the marine park on the first day of modified general community quarantine in the province. He says it was his first time to travel to Bataan after several months of coronavirus lockdown and his primary goal was to visit his farm. He reiterates it was not a leisure trip. The palace official apologizes to those who were offended by his actions.
Wala po akong linabag na regulasyon, bagamat I recognize po na meron siguro talagang mga iba dyan na na-offend doon sa nakita nilang mga larawan, at para doon po sa mga na-offend ko, paumanhin po, no? Dahil tao lang po. So yung trabaho ko po walang Sabado-Linggo. So kinakailangan po kung kinakailangan mag-break, isingit mo kung kailan mo masisingit.
Secretary Roque further explains he is authorized to travel outside residence. He also points out swimming is allowed even in areas under general community quarantine. However, he promises the event will not happen again.
Hindi po ako nag-party. Nag-isa po ako, ang kasama ko po 4 na dolphins.
Rosa Licoz, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
Around 2,000 to 3,000 families in Parañaque City will be affected by a calibrated lockdown that city authorities will impose in some portions of Barangay BF starting tomorrow. Vincent Arboleda will tell us why.
The officials of Barangay BF and City Health Office of Parañaque decided to place 12 areas in the barangay on calibrated lockdown after a rise in COVID-19 cases in the area. According to the July 1 data of the Parañaque Health Department, the number of active COVID-19 cases in Barangay BF has reached 56.
Before we hit the threshold of alarming, kinokontrol na natin bago pa siya mag-blow out of proportion.
Areas on lockdown include Purok 1 and 2 of Clinicville, J. Marquez Compound, the streets of Apple, Chico, Dalandan, and Calamansi from Sampaloc Site 2, Purok 3, 3A, Aratiles 1 and Aratiles 2 of Massville, and Target Range 1. The city government assures that food packs will be delivered daily to the thousands of affected families. Along with the lockdown, authorities will also conduct disinfection and flushing in the specified areas. Around 500 individuals have been traced to have had close physical contact with COVID-19 positive patients. Those individuals will undergo RT-PCR testing.
We will move and transport them to Mo Arena to get their swab, and then later on, while they're waiting for their test results, we will now move them to our isolation facility.
To ensure that contact tracing will be properly done, only frontliners with significant roles in the COVID-19 response will be allowed to leave their houses during the lockdown period, provided they secure a travel pass from the Philippine National Police. Authorities hope for the cooperation of residents to stop the spread of COVID-19 in the area. Vincent Arboleda, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
The Department of Health, Region 7, and the Cebu City Health Office are harmonizing their COVID-19 data. As of yesterday, DOH-7 reported 9,018 total confirmed COVID-19 cases in Central Visayas. That number includes 3,150 active cases, 3,160 recoveries, and 303 deaths. Cebu City remains to have the most confirmed cases at more than 6,000. But it's noticeable that the numbers from DOH-7 and the Cebu City Health Office are different. For instance, the confirmed cases in Cebu City, the DOH-7 reported yesterday was 6,175. But the number from the City Health Office from yesterday was only 5,596. The new cases yesterday were 151 as reported by DOH-7. But the City Health Office reported only 107. This is why the two offices are harmonizing their data. This is to ensure accurate and uniform COVID-19 case data in Cebu City. The Health Department calls on the government to approve the Bayanihan to Recover as One or the Bayanihan 2 Act. Aiko Miguel details why.
The Department of Health admit it is difficult on their part now to give the compensation of healthcare workers who died from and are critically ill with COVID-19. According to Undersecretary Maria Rosario Vergere, they cannot immediately look for funds after the Bayanihan to Heal as One Act expired last June 25. However, they are still looking for ways to collect funds for the compensations.
Pinipilit nating maigi na maituloy yan at humahanap din tayo ng ibang avenue. Kaya tayo nakikipag-discuss sa ibang mga ahensya na hindi lang naman sa Bayanihan to Heal as One Act pwede, no? Baka naman pwede tayo makikuha or makipag-usap. Tingnan natin na ngayon dito sa mga GSIS and the other agencies which can provide.
According to Undersecretary Vergere, although the effectivity period of the Bayanihan law has lapsed, they will still give compensations to healthcare workers greatly affected by COVID-19.
Meron naman tayong intention talaga na ituloy natin ito. Kaya lang, hindi tayo makakapagtuloy hanggang walang basis of law. Because maglalabas tayo ng pera from the coffers of the national government, and we need a sound basis for that whenever we do that. And usually it's in the form of a law.
Bayanihan to Heal As One Act states that bereaved families of healthcare workers who died from COVID-19 will receive 1 million pesos, while healthcare providers who fall severely ill with the disease will receive 100,000 pesos each. The Health Department now awaits the government's decision on the Bayanihan 2. Aiko Miguel, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
The World Health Organization reiterates the virus that has been recently observed in swines in China, discussed in a recent scientific publication, is not new. Dr. Michael Ryan, WHO's Health Emergencies Program Executive Director, said at Wednesday's media briefing that G4 genotype have been detected in swine populations in China since 2016 and has been under surveillance for many years.
The interesting finding in the latest report is the seroprevalence among swine workers, which needs to be looked into carefully.
Dr. Ryan added that zoonotic transmission or transmission of virus from animal to human has been reported in the past. The WHO has a pandemic influenza preparedness framework in place, including development and availability of candidate vaccines.
But again, I'd like just to restate that this is a finding from surveillance that's been carried out over many years. These are not new viruses. We always take any variant strains of swine flu viruses extremely seriously.
Jago and William, we are on board the UNTV radio mobile booth and we are here in IBP Road in Batasan Hills, Quezon City. Let's take a look at the situation on the road. For motorists coming from Litex going to Commonwealth Avenue, expect a light to at times moderate traffic ahead. Meanwhile, on the other side of the road, for vehicles coming from Elliptical Road and Commonwealth Avenue going to Litex, expect a light to moderate traffic. And for our weather update. The Intertropical Convergence Zone or ITCZ is affecting southern Mindanao. State Weather Bureau Pag-asa says this will bring cloudy skies with scattered rain showers and thunderstorms over Davao Region, Soxargen, Bangsamoro Autonomous Region and Muslim Mindanao or BARM, and Zamboanga Peninsula. Meanwhile, Metro Manila and the rest of the country may experience partly cloudy to cloudy skies with isolated rain showers due to localized thunderstorms. Possible flash floods or landslides may occur during severe thunderstorms. No tropical cyclone advisory is issued.
The video of Monday's shooting incident in Holosulu that involved military and police personnel has gone viral. Many netizens expressed disappointment and criticism on the Philippine National Police. But the Police Regional Office, Bangsamoro Autonomous Region, says the first responders in the crime scene will face charges. Our police correspondent Leah Ilagan will tell us why.
This is a video posted on a Facebook page of former AFP Chief of Staff General Ricardo Bong Bisaya. He criticizes the local police in Holosulu over how they handle the crime scene. The video has gained almost 10,000 shares and about 2,000 comments from social media users who are also criticizing the police. But Pro-Bar Director, Police Brigadier General Manuel Abu says the armed men in civilian clothes on that video are not PNP personnel. They are members of the Philippine Army who first responded in the scene. Even the man who opened the door of the driver's seat of the vehicle involved in the incident and the person who touched the dead soldier are members of the Army.
Yun ang masakla. Kasi nag-respond rin yung sundalo. Kinuha nila yung mga laman eh. Kaya pati yung mga baril, pinagkuha nila eh. Hindi na inatay yung suko. Kasi nga, so ibig sabihin, wala namang alam siguro sila sa talagang mayroon sila sinatago.
Even the Philippine Army admits the persons on that video were Army personnel. Philippine Army spokesperson Colonel Ramon Sagala says the brother of the slain Corporal Abdal Asula opened the door of the driver's seat and placed a pillow for the dead body lying on the floor.
Chinek nila yung pulse kung may buhay and secure the vehicle. No? So from take-down team to rescue to recovery. No? Makikita mo rin sa video may parang bumubukas ng pinto. No? Yung bumubukas ng pinto, yun ay brother ng isang aming operative. No? So kasi alam niya na yung brother niya ang driver. No? So out of his instinct, tingnan niya, sinisure niya yung gamit ng brother niya. No?
Because of this, the ProBar director said that he will file charges against those first responders for invading the crime scene.
So, pati bang kagutungan sila ng obstruction of justice eh. Kasi pagka ganyan na may namatay na, hindi dapat guluhin yung encounter site. Ginulo nila eh.
Brigadier General Abu adds the 9 policemen involved in the shooting incident were still in the area but did not go near the scene, afraid of the angry soldiers. But Western Mindanao Command spokesperson Major Arvin Encina said the 9 policemen suspects fled after the incident.
Right after nila binaril yung tropa, tumakas naman yung mga pulis na yun, umalis. Supposedly, kung talagang hinabol nila, di kinordo nila yung area. Gano'n. Pero right after yung binaril nila is tumakas sila umalis doon sa scene.
Meanwhile, Defense Secretary Delfin Lorenzana reveals that Interior Secretary Eduardo Año has the partial result of the NBI's investigation on the incident. Leia Ilagan, UNTV, News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
President Rodrigo Duterte says that he plans to meet the officials of the Armed Forces of the Philippines and Philippine National Police in Mindanao after a fatal event in Holosulu. Rosalie Cos has the story wide.
President Rodrigo Duterte was saddened by the shooting incident that involved 9 policemen in the killing of 4 soldiers in Holosulu. Interior Secretary Eduardo Año reveals the chief executive will travel to Mindanao to meet officials of the Armed Forces of the Philippines and the Philippine National Police, but refuses to provide details for security reasons. The chief executive also wants a speedy probe by the National Bureau of Investigation.
Yes, the President is going to the South to talk to our PNP and AAP commanders. Sabi ko nga, kumbitan pa siya ay kausap din yung mga suspect.
Meanwhile, according to Senator Antonio Trillanes, the incident in Holosulu is the latest price we have to pay for tolerating the extrajudicial killings under the Duterte administration. But Malacanang refutes this.
Di po natin kinukonsente ang patayan, kaya nga po masinsinang investigasyon ang ginagawa natin dito sa naging pagpatay sa 4 na sundalo mula po sa hukbong sandatahan.
EJK is not the policy of this government, and on the Sulu incident, sabi ko nga na we will exact justice and we will make sure that those responsible shall be accountable. Umasa kayo dyan, ako mismo ang personal na nagpapalo up ng kaso na ito.
Rosalie Cos, UNTV, News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
The anti-terrorism bill has been forwarded to the Office of Executive Secretary Salvador Medialdea for final review. According to presidential spokesperson Harry Roque, this means the legal office of President Rodrigo Duterte has its recommendations regarding the proposed bill. The anti-terrorism bill will lapse into law on July 9 if President Duterte will not veto the bill.
Ibig sabihin po, meron na pong memorandum na recommending a course of action to the President. Subject to final approval lang po siguro yan ni Executive Secretary at dadalhin na po sa lamesa ni Presidente.
And for the news abroad, here's Mariel Latoza live from Perth, Australia. Good evening, Mariel.
Good evening, William, and to Diego and Charlene as well. How are you?
I'm doing good, Mariel. How are you? I hope you're doing well. And what have you got for us tonight?
William, today, Australia begins its Stage 3 restrictions for over 300,000 residents of 10 postcodes in Victoria, while in neighboring New Zealand, embattled health minister resigned today. Also, I will tell you why Beijing's Sinfandi market disposes of over 15,000 tons of vegetables and fruits.
Okay, Marielle, go ahead and tell us why.
As Australia welcomes the new financial year, Stage 3 lockdown conditions are being re-implemented starting today. This encompasses around 310,000 Victorians as the state records 77 new cases of coronavirus infections, 31 of which are linked to community transmission and are being traced to failures in the state's hotel quarantine protocols. The 1-month lockdown means residents can only leave their house for 4 reasons: to provide care, to go to work or study, to exercise, or to buy groceries. Residents in lockdown zones cannot have visitors to their homes or visit other households unless to receive services or for caregiving or compassionate reasons, and are no longer allowed to leave for holidays. Residents already away on holiday will be subject to the restrictions when they get home. Fines of 1,652 Australian dollars will be handed to people found in breach of the restrictions with a small window of leniency. Meanwhile, in New South Wales, 8 returning travelers were new confirmed cases and in hotel quarantine. Northern Territory, on the other hand, reports a single new case after almost 3 months without infections detected. Queensland has announced the state's border reopening to interstate travelers except for Victoria. New rules require a declaration of movement from anyone coming from Victoria and need to fund their 14-day hotel quarantine if they arrive after July 3. In Western Australia, the borders remain closed with a tentative date for reopening to be announced as part of its Phase 6 of eased restrictions, which is currently in Phase 4 and going to be Phase 5 by July 18. Coronavirus figures in Australia to date show 7,920 cases and 104 deaths. There have been 7,063 recoveries so far. New Zealand's embattled health minister resigned today after security slip-ups at quarantine facilities where the coronavirus was detected just days after officials declared it had been eliminated from the country. David Clark was also under fire for personally breaching strict lockdown rules twice earlier in the year by taking his family on a beach trip and driving to a mountain biking track. Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern, who had earlier refused calls to sack Clark, citing his critical role in the country's response to the pandemic, said she agreed with his decision.
It's no secret that health is a challenging portfolio. I have given it my all. But it has become increasingly clear to me that my continuation in the role is distracting from the government's overall response to COVID-19 and the global pandemic.
Anything that acts as a distraction, anything that takes away our time, effort and energy from our response to COVID-19, we just as a country can't afford. So that was a very frank conversation the Minister and I openly had last week. He then came to the very firm view that his ongoing role in this portfolio was going to get in the way of that response.
Elsewhere in China, the Sinfandi farm-produced wholesale market in the Fengtai district of Beijing has disposed of and disinfected over 15,000 tons of vegetables and fruits as of Monday for fear of their contamination of the virus. The market has been found to be the source of the resurgence of COVID-19, forcing Beijing to upgrade its emergency response to level 2 after 56 days without reports of confirmed cases. The market supplies the city with more than 80% to the agricultural produce. All personnel on the market were quarantined for medical observation, and all goods and vehicles were quarantined and rigorously disinfected and disposed of. With the rise in temperature, a special disinfecting team was dispatched to disinfect and dispose of the possibly contaminated vegetables and fruits since June 16. Let us now take a closer look at the updated count of coronavirus in the countries most suffering from the coronavirus pandemic. The United States of America, as of today, has nearly 2.7 million confirmed cases of the new coronavirus infection. Of those, almost 730,000 have recovered. Trailing it is Brazil, the worst-hit South American country, with over 1.4 million cases, including more than 60,000 deaths already. Russia, where ballot counting has begun for constitutional reform, has more than 660,000 confirmed COVID-19 cases. India remains to be the Asian country turned upside down the most, surpassing the 600,000 mark, while the UK remains to have only more than 1,000 recoveries until today, out of its more than 314,000 confirmed cases. In other news, 20 advocacy groups from the United States, Europe, Latin America, and elsewhere signed a statement on Wednesday urging regulators to be wary of Google's $2.1 billion bid for fitness tracker company Fitbit Incorporated. Judith Ann Fuente will tell us why.
Because of privacy and competition concerns, 20 organizations argued that the deal between Google and Fitbit Inc. would expand the already considerable clout in digital markets of Alphabet Inc.'s Google. Those organizations include US-based Public Citizen, Access Now from Europe, and the Brazilian Institute of Consumer Defense. Acquiring Fitbit would give Google such intimate information about users as how many steps they take daily, the quality of their sleep, and their heart rates. The group said that past experience shows that regulators must be very wary of any promises made by merging parties about restricting the use of the acquisition target's data. Regulators must assume that Google will in practice utilize the entirety of Fitbit's currently independent, unique, highly sensitive dataset in combination with its own. But a Google spokeswoman said the deal is about devices and not data, adding that the combination of Google's and Fitbit's hardware efforts will increase competition in the sector. Google announced the deal in November. Australia's competition authority said this month that it may have concerns about the deal and would make a final decision in August. EU antitrust regulators will decide by July 20th whether to clear the deal with or without concessions or open a longer investigation. In Washington, Google is under antitrust investigation by the Justice Department, a congressional committee, and dozens of states for allegedly using its massive market power to harm smaller competitors. Judith Ann Fuente, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
And those are the reasons behind the news here in Australia and in other parts of the globe. Back to you, William.
Yes, thank you, Marielle, and stay safe there in Australia.
From the resumption of the Bulgarian Cup on June 5 until its final held yesterday in the capital Sofia, the Bulgarian government has seen spectators violating the physical distancing measures. Now the country awaits what these violations could lead to. Here's the story why from Justin Masakayan.
Thousands of soccer fans were seen breaking social distancing rules as Lokomotiv Plovdiv beat CSKA Sofia 5 out of 3 on penalties on Wednesday to win the Bulgarian Cup for a second consecutive year. As the domestic league resumed on June 5th, the Bulgarian government has allowed 12,000 spectators at the game after an almost 3-month pause due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Prime Minister Boyko Borisov had ordered Health Minister Kirill Ananyev to attend the match at the Vasilevsky National Stadium to monitor whether spectators were complying with the health protocols. But the fans, standing close together, demonstrated little respect for the anti-coronavirus measures. Spectators were required to wear face masks. Stewards even offered everyone entering the stadium a free face covering, but only a very small number of spectators used the protective cover. Bulgaria's sport minister Krasen Kralev had warned that more drastic measures could await violations during the domestic league final. Bulgaria, as of today, has more than 5,000 confirmed coronavirus cases and over 200 reported deaths from the disease. Justin Masakayan, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
To add to that news, Bulgarian authorities have decided to extend a state of emergency in response to the coronavirus outbreak until July 15.
Ready for the new era of Big Brother? Cameras using artificial intelligence have been installed on the streets of Quito, Ecuador. Here's why from Nina Armilio.
To check if people are social distancing, especially in public places around the Ecuadorian capital, cameras that use AI or artificial intelligence have been installed. According to Area Coordinator at Security Operation Oscar Gabela, the Inter-American Development Bank is backing this smart camera initiative across the Latin American region. And Ecuador is the first to quickly implement it.
Some 90% of citizens use face masks. We don't know if they are being used correctly. As we have seen out on the streets, in many areas, social distancing is not practiced by people. Distancing is not being done.
These smart cameras are able to track the distance between citizens out on the street. An audio alert is then issued that warns citizens that their health is at risk if they don't practice social distancing. Ecuador is one of Latin America's worst-hit countries for coronavirus. As of today, the country has confirmed over 55,000 cases and more than 4,500 deaths. There are also reports of outbreaks in downtown Quito.
In coordination with authorities, there are to be restrictions in the historic center. Unfortunately, that is where there has been an increase in the number of cases.
Officials hope this technology will help stem the tide of new cases. Nina Armilio, UNTV, News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
And those are the reasons behind the news, July 2, 2020. I am Harleen Delgado. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
Reasons we deliver to you as they unfold. I'm Angelo Castro III.
And I am William Theo. Because we need to know, we will always ask why. Have a great evening, everyone.